Hola, Barcelona. My name is Mohammed Salman Anjum, and I'm the head of BSV Hub in Middle East and South Asia. Also, I have my own project. I'm trying to bring value for the invoice management in the conventional businesses. Today, we are talking about the benefits or value of blockchain in different verticals. Every technology has some core value to add into the digital transformation, and blockchain does in a trusted data and workflow. Any process in any vertical, any workflow, any data requires trust, requires blockchain. Today, I have a privilege having four distinguished guests. They're all representing different verticals, different industry areas, and we will be sharing together what blockchain is doing good for their respective industry. So we will start with the introduction part first. So share what is the scope of your work, your brief introduction, and what brought you in the blockchain space?
Sure.
In the first place?
You've already met me, so just quickly, I'm Jimmy Nguyen. So I lead the global organization that supports the BSV blockchain. I actually was an IP and digital technology lawyer for 21 years in the United States and saw the whole wave of the growth of the internet. And I came into the blockchain space because I wanted to actually be part of leading this technology wave to actually use blockchain for utility and a powerful data and economic network.
Fantastic. Hi, this is Monse Guardia. Nice to meet you all. Well, I came out from the blockchain also from my background on engineering. I'm telecom engineering, and I have been managing large projects on Olympics, for example, but also oil and gas services and banking and finance. And suddenly we were looking at this, how to protect and how to help all the information was coming from the sensors of the Internet of Things. And suddenly in the banking industry, I found out blockchain some years ago, and I thought this is the fantastic technology to support helping the cybersecurity when we are taking data from these sensors. So I have been looking after how to implement that in large corporations, and the solution was founding a consortia that was Alastria, and from doing 4 years in Alastria, right now I found a company that was looking for the next step, that is the convergence of Internet of Things, blockchain, and AI. And that's right now Big Onion, and this is the new company.
Super great, Brian.
Good morning. My name is Brian Heinen from Blockchain in Europe. I'm a director of project development and commercialization of product services and platforms. I've been in this space since about 2013 when I was working with the Bitcoin Foundation. And at that point, they brought me on board to help try to bring the narrative from this idea of maybe hiding from the tax authorities and doing something illegal online in the dark web to looking at true business application and regulation around the thing that underpinned the Bitcoin. This lead up presentation was perfect for where I sit at least. How we could find some true measurable added value by integrating a market space that has the blockchain underpinning it. And so I work with organizations and have a passion in food. And I like to argue a lot of times that, well, I like to argue as well, but I like to say that I believe the greatest opportunity for creating this measurable added value is in our food system. And I think blockchain is that key to that. So we talk about that as well.
Sure, we'll talk about that. Martin, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Martin Coxell. I am the head of marketing at Bitcoin Association. So I work closely with Jimmy, who you've already heard from. As I said, I'm in marketing by trade. So a lot of my work at the association revolves around promotion. And I've been doing that for the last 15 years in different manners and aspects. I came into the blockchain space around 2017. If you remember, was a hot time for ICOs and such. Previously, I've worked on projects around Ethereum as well. And but today I'm exclusively dedicated to BSV blockchain.
Right. Brian, I'll start with you. I know that the discussion we were having, you are a bit skeptic about the blockchain. Tell me, how much is the hype around blockchain and how much is the actual adoption you are seeing for the last few years?
As I mentioned, how Jimmy teed this up is perfect for me as well. And when we think that we're here to democracy, or at least that's one of the pillars of this blockchain and democracy, this idea of time, I like to talk about it, the difference between friction. So democracy, at least in my view, is about power and leveraging of that power. And really, when you have those two things, you can get a lot of time or resources, if you will, behind that. So I see a lot in this space, now getting to the hype part of it, as much has been spent on the hype. Now, I will say all the time, I won't run from the hype if it'll help me get an audience. Again, I'm similar. I have a more marketing branding background than an engineering background. So I won't run from the hype, but I also say I'm also a skeptic of this industry because of it. And I think that what really we need to start doing as an industry as a whole is instead of starting to think of think of that idea of the leveraging and reducing of the friction to developing products and services in this industry. And that means for me, a more inclusive industry in general, which is why I think blockchain is such a key, because it allows us to feel more confident and have more trust to share information and collaborate. And that sounds like maybe a lot of platitudes as well, but I think that this frees us up more to be able to have the same kind of conversations that Jimmy had mentioned in his presentation. So
Right.
he teed it up much better than I could probably explain it in 30
So-
seconds.
As you have referred several times, Jimmy, asking you the same question. Are you seeing the actual adoption or just the hype everywhere?
So I'm very blunt about this topic, which is I think too much of the blockchain and digital asset industry for the last 5 to 7 years has been driven purely by releasing coins and projects for people to make money off of the rising price of the coin, which there's nothing wrong with as long as you follow the laws. But I think what there's not been enough of is a focus on building actual useful business, consumer, government applications using blockchain technology. And there needs to be more of that. I talk to a lot of bigger enterprises and governments. I just came from Bahrain, where I was at a government technology procurement event. They're all interested in this topic, but what has been missing is easy to use application solutions that they can adopt quickly. We need more of that. So I encourage all of the developers, entrepreneurs, businesses out there to really focus on that. If you do that, the coin you support should go up in value more organically, as opposed to for random reasons because of tweets about Dogecoin. So I think there's been too much hype, not enough utility, and that's why we're so focused in BSV on actually getting applications that have a usefulness to consumers and businesses.
Yes, I will say no, and I completely agree with both, but I will highlight two things. No, one thing you said is inclusive. So what is the main thing here, and from the engineering point of view, and we have seen that in the morning, we have a quite complex technology, but this quite complex technology changed completely the way how we change value in internet. So in one hand, we have the engineers completely and programmers, everybody who is developing quite focused on that. On the other hand, we have the market, and the market still needs to do transition in something that is useful. So what is very interesting for me is the paradigm, the thing that this technology will help us all together to really face the challenge that we have over the next 10 years. So we are in a global situation, what is critical. We are looking at that in the COP26 right now. And we have this solution, as you said, in food, in how we are getting our nutrients, in how we are being polluting the climate, in changing what we have done over the last 10 years in data. So this data that right now we have in big amounts, how we use it, what is the ethical approach, how we can use it properly all together, that's blockchain, the solution. So we need to have the bridge between, and I will say, no, the hype is to think that this is done. No, it's not true. The software is not finished. But the truth is that, yes, there is a need. So the market needs to understand that the need is global. It's not only for his industry. It's not only for food. It's not only for finance. It's for all. So this is why public administration and democracy is involved around blockchain, because we need to change completely the way of economy is built. So this is why it's so complex to get to the business, because we are talking about something that is disruptive. So we are using a disruptive technology to disrupt the current way of doing economics. So how we do it, that's a challenge.
Sure.
But the hype is to think that it's easy going. It's not easy.
We will come to the challenge part later. Martin, talking about the efficiencies in different verticals, you represent the vertical of marketing. Tell us 2 or 3 core efficiency areas where you see blockchain is bringing in your vertical or industry.
I think a good way to start that discussion is around the aspect of cost. Marketing is, yes, it's my vertical. Let's dig down to not just marketing generally, but say advertising, digital advertising, which is something I think we all understand. We all are a part of it. We see ads every day. That's a global market, which is in the region of $400 billion a year. And it's at this point controlled by a very small group of very big companies that hold the lion's share of the market. We know their names. They've been mentioned a number of times on other panels already today. I don't need to say who they are. So as a marketer, my day-to-day issues and pain points are around cost efficiency, driving more bang for the buck when it comes to advertising. And I am limited. My challenge is there that I do not have access to all the data I'd like to have access to because it is controlled by these this group of very few companies. And as such, I am limited in the efficiencies I can drive in terms of return on my ad spend, which could be small to substantial. But when you're talking about an industry that's in this region of value, hundreds of billions of dollars, a little increase in efficiency can lead to substantial savings. So it's about gaining access to that data, cutting out the middleman, which are these platforms, and being able to, revert to the peer-to-peer aspect where the end advertiser, that one who's spending money, can actually liaise with the consumer directly, which is what's set out in the Bitcoin white paper, I'm sure as everybody knows.
Plenty of efficiency areas you are seeing happening. In your industry, where do you see the efficiency areas?
Yeah, now, as I was being complimentary before, I might push back a little bit here, because as I mentioned, I'm more of a blockchain skeptic in the sense that the traceability aspect of it is not something that gets me so excited. The technology of it is not something that gets me necessarily so excited. I think the efficiency or the disintermediation part of it isn't something that gets me quite so excited. I think we do a pretty good job of developing trust already. I think we do a pretty good, it's a ledger at the end of the day. And I always say when I talk to agriculture companies, ledgers have been around only 1,000 or so years, less than domesticated agriculture itself. What I think it's really about is about incentives. So and this is why I love the storytelling about agriculture, because it's a little more tangible for us. So right now we do agriculture at a mass scale to produce volume and not more nutritional or better tasting food that's more ecologically sound. We want bigger food that tastes like styrofoam, right? So I think it's more about incentive models, because if you go to a farmer and say, we want you to integrate this technology, whatever blockchain or not blockchain, let's put that aside for a second. They're going to say, great, I have 24 hours in the day and 2 hands. Who's going to pay for it, or how's it going to get paid for? And how does it help me do what I need to do at the end of the day? I would love to produce a more nutritional apple, for example, right? So it's more for me about the incentive model. If I'm going to say that I'm going to create a market space, like Jimmy, you pointed out in your presentation, and I'm going to give you equity in that market space to integrate my technology and to share your data, and I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to compensate you for this. At the end of the day, for me, actually, it is a little bit of a money question for them, because they're going to go like, it's more efficient. You're going to do all the work for me to make me integrated into my systems. I'm going to make money, and I'm going to store value potentially that in the long run, I'm going to go tell everyone in my community, this is the great technology. We should be using your technology to do it. So for me, the conversation is less about the blockchain technology. It's more about what product are you building on top of it that's going to make your life easier. And then it comes back to exactly what you pointed out. For me.
So jumping here again to the Jimmy, you are a big fan of incentivization as an efficiency bringing we can have through blockchain. Tell us more about that. Sure. What is your
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Let's be candid again. Humans and businesses act by incentives, right? You need to incentivize them. This is why I describe Bitcoin as the fusion of data and money, an ability in one network to somehow add value and entice people with monetary value with some type of data system. I'll give you an example in the food industry. There's a supply chain company on our blockchain called Unisat in Norway. They've created a supply chain management solution to track the flow of goods across the supply chain on blockchain. Not inventive, lots of people do that, right? That doesn't excite you yet because that's just, provenance tracking.
Right.
But as they're tracking fish, this is one of their first platforms for seafood chain. They can track the fish from the fish farmer to the wholesaler distributor to the ultimate sushi restaurant chain that is buying the fish. Along the way, because of the scale of our blockchain, they can track lots of data bits, not just the date and time of the fish at each place, the weight of each fish container, the temperature of each of the fish at each step in the process. That's important to ensure the freshness of the fish by the time the fish arrives to a sushi restaurant, which probably wants to charge you extra for premium fresh fish, right? Because it's very important for sushi. Collecting that data and convincing the fish farmer and all the people in the supply chain to use this system is incentivized because the keepers of that data can monetize those bits of data. Some people will pay for those bits of data. And they're also building a consumer application. So at the very end of the day, a consumer at a restaurant or a grocery store can scan and get information about the ingredients that they're getting on their plates or that they're buying. And they can check, for example, the sustainability verification of the fish, the source of origin. But for the people along the way, keeping the data about temperature, the weight, and other conditions has monetary value where it allows them not just to keep feel confident the fish is fresh, but actually make money in different ways.
Right.
So I think things like that should be built to then incentivize businesses to use systems that can make things more efficient, but also give them more monetary revenue opportunities.
Sorry,
No
just
problem.
on that point completely, but also with that other level now, which makes it so valuable, of security.
Correct.
So if you have that IP that you want to try to compensate on, you also don't want to just open up your books completely.
Correct.
And that, to me, is where you start talking about the measurable added value. When
Yeah.
you have something that you don't have to worry about the intermediaries now
Yes.
affirming the deliverables, the immutability of the blockchain.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
at the end, no, I think I completely, both of you, what you do, and this is to reinforce the message that this is a new way of doing economics models. So right now, if we are saying, no, let's incentivize all the different elements on the chain in a way that is personalizing this overall chain of supply or supply chain, you are taking into account that there is a model, an economic model that needs to be built that is new. Because in the companies, in the big enterprises and the small enterprises, economics right now, how I'm making money, what is my cash flow, how I'm going to do the P&L, doesn't take into account incentive models. And this is why I think that still we have some challenge in front, that is how, in terms of economics, understanding, financial and economic also globally, this blockchain can be built to create massive impact. So how myself as a farmer, at the end, that is going to translate in my cash flow something better than not doing as I'm doing right now, contacting a distributor. Right. So this is where the cultural change is needed. This is why we have a disruption in front of us. And that's why it's interesting. And in security, for sure, we have and we know that this is better, but not everybody in the chain. You see, still we need to translate that to everyone. And this is why this is not just something we can do alone, company by company, but we need to give this type of events, and all of you together to explain to the market, there is a market, but you need to change the model. So let's build it together with the public administrations, of course. So that's the challenge, I think. But I don't know what is your opinion also, because you know the market.
All right, Martin, tell us any recent project or app that is bringing real disruption in your industry?
If some of you saw the previous presentation by Jimmy, he mentioned a couple which are being built on the BSV blockchain, which are obviously close to my heart, the likes of Tonic Power, which is a referral marketing platform where the data of the actual referrals is tracked on the BSV blockchain, and then the referral payouts are also paid through BSV. that is exactly the type of project which we want to be promoting. In a similar aspect, RightView, which is a review platform where the reviews are logged and proven on the blockchain. I guess my interest here with that is, as a consumer, I'm going to take off my marketer cap here for a minute and position myself as a consumer, because this whole conference is about democracy, demos, the people. How do the people benefit from blockchain when it comes to reviews? Well, I spent most of 2020 at home, like a lot of you, because of COVID, and I did a lot of online shopping. And how did I buy my different products online? I looked at reviews. I went to Amazon, went to Google, and ultimately, I think we've seen a lot in the news lately that there are severe doubts as to the veracity of a lot of the reviews and how we do online shopping. So the consumer experience could be vastly improved by an actual true, honest review system, which would be powered by blockchain.
Right, Monse.
No, I completely, somehow you said now is very interesting. That is, for example, no, one economic model is the reward, no? So as much as review I have in a favor, I can split that in an incentive to make it better, no? And this is something we know already in the market because we are doing so with some platforms. But we come back to the security and the trust. So I want to be sure that this review is done with the proper criteria, no? And this is, and then we come to democracy. What is the ethics behind? I'm just introducing in the blockchain this review to make incentivize this company or this other. So that's what I think is quite interesting to take into account that there is already business models in blockchain. So it's not that we start from scratch. There is already companies that are improving their revenues because they are using blockchain. But globally, in 5 years or 10 years, what we need to do now to really make a path where this trust around the globe, make it for all together as a consumers that are bringing to the right, no, to the right market, to the right products, no? How I can be sure that the farmer in Mexico, the one who is really producing the coffee beans, is receiving the proper incentive and the reward because I'm choosing his coffee and not another coffee, no? That's what I think is interesting, no? When we a little bit move in another layer, that is, and here is where, as engineer, I will say we need systems that are experts. We need the development of the AI properly together with the blockchain. We need to trust this data.
Right. Jimmy, any project which you see is bringing a lot of efficiency in the different verticals of the businesses other than InvoiceMate?
Other than your company, of course. Yeah, there are so many that, you know, the great thing about the scalability of BSV is the diversity of companies and projects that are coming. One that I think is really catching a lot of attention is a game called Crypto Fights in the esports world in the United States. It uses what we call a lot of the different superpowers of BSV. So it's like a Dungeons and Dragons style game. You make, you know, an avatar. I'm an elf. You're a magician, you know, you put the qualities of your character, you roll a dice and you battle each other. Well, it uses the blockchain for several reasons. One, each of those battle moves is recorded as a transaction, a data transaction to the blockchain. So one battle might yield 50 moves, and therefore they needed a chain that could hold a lot of data very inexpensively. So that's important for the efficiency of several things. One, to prevent cheating in esports betting, which is a massive issue. So you can actually go back and verify the integrity of all the plays and do analysis of players. You also don't have to keep the whole video of the battle because they're basically creating an engine where as long as you have the data of all of the moves, it can be recreated. So you don't need Twitch to actually store all of the videos of every game battle. You can actually go back and recreate it later through an engine from the data that lives on the blockchain. That provides great efficiency to data storage when you think about it. And they also do things such as, of course, doing NFTs with BSV, but it is an interesting use of a data ledger with these data transactions marked across time to create more integrity, fairness in esports, and create more efficiency in what the companies have to store if they want to give you as players and the rest of the audience historical ability to go back and look at, reconstruct games. You don't have to store huge amounts of video files. You just access the data from the blockchain and recreate it.
Right, right. We discussed about the efficiencies that blockchain can bring in different verticals. We discussed about trailblazer companies who are doing some disruptive work. Let's talk about challenges now. What challenges do you see for the blockchain to go into the adoption mode and also to bring more efficiency to the real world problem solutions?
I think, so in this 8 years or so that I've been in the industry, I keep trying to position myself with different stakeholders to try to understand how can we finally get some real measurable added value, as I said. And what I keep coming back to and been working on more and more recently is we need to lay down a track that as we're building products and services that have the backbone of the blockchain behind them, that all of these creative people and all these engineers are at least going in a direction with some sort of purpose. And that's for me is standards. So we've been working on, at least in agriculture, but in general within blockchain, how are people using this data? What does it mean when you say you're on the blockchain, and creating a standard so at least when we get there, there will be some way to have some kind of interoperability. And right now, I think it's great that we're using the hype and getting a lot of funding into the space. Believe me, as I said earlier, I don't run from it. And it's opened up doors to enterprise organizations that would never even bring me in because I don't have IBM or Google behind my business card. But I think if we don't start figuring out a way of saying this is a standard that how we're going to build products, we're just going to be splintered.
Can I just say that is so important, and it's kind of the opposite of the culture of blockchain and digital assets. They don't want to feel like there's somebody in charge, and they don't like the idea of someone or some body setting technical standards. But that happens in every technology ecosystem. So our association has created what we think is one of the first technical standards committees for at least our blockchain, Bitcoin SV, to do exactly that, to create standards. Not that we require companies to use them, but to create interoperability between wallets, token systems, or just things like metadata. What type of metadata should be attached to healthcare data or game data or agricultural data so that the companies who might do blockchain applications and systems are coding everything the right way to make it easier to find, trace, operate with each other. So we've started that process early, but I think that it needs to happen more in the blockchain world, and people need to get over this idea of feeling uncomfortable someone's telling them what to do.
I completely agree. In fact, in Spain, we founded Alastra for do so. And we have been lucky in the terms that after 4 years, we have a digital identity standard in Europe.
Digital
and
identity
Spain is the first one.
Needs a standard. That's
and
so
it needs
important.
a standard, but also for the telco and the software industry, that's normal. We have been doing a standard every year since internet was built. We have pushing the standards, and is what say in the morning panels, we have for ADAS, for digital documentation exchange, ADAS 2 that is now in Europe, that just for using this digitalization, digital identity for the electronic exchange of documents. So that's the way of move, and I completely agree with you. Blockchain also as a software solution needs and is going to be built on standards to make it massive, and that's what we need to understand, and that's for sure the solution.
As a frequent traveler, I want a standard for like countries, COVID tracking and forms and everything I have to fill out differently in every place I go.
Because
you see things from the marketing perspective and the product.
I can completely adhere to what's been said about the fact of changing the mindset and overcoming some of those challenges. I want to loop back to what Jimmy talked about in his previous presentation. The notion of time. Time is unfortunately one of the big blockers here. It's going to take time to convince people. Again, selfishly as a marketer, my job is to go out, promote a blockchain every day. And one of my biggest hindrances is dealing with platforms that have very severe regulations, red tape for what I can or cannot say. There's just a automatic conflation between blockchain and cryptocurrency. Unfortunately, the two ideas are very much mixed up, and blockchain, I think, suffers from that.
I know we're running out of time, but can I say, because I guess that's the difference between, and I'm agreeing with you, like, instead of trying to find an opportunity and capture it and try to fuel it, like I see there's so much opportunity that we can create and reduce the friction. And I think there's so much opportunity in this space. Right now, a lot of the industry in the crypto side is fighting over the early adopters, especially that have been working on Ethereum.
Yeah.
And there are so many creatives and engineers that are working way beyond even thinking about blockchain at this point. So it's an opportunity creation more than an opportunity capture.
And just for you to reinforce that, blockchain is an innovation that is doing technological push. So we are using this technology that is new, that is completely flexible to do innovation. And this is what we call innovate by a technology push. And as you said, no, it's not that we have an opportunity, we have a tool that could create hundreds of opportunities or thousands. So that's why we love that, no? That's why we are here.
Right. Martin, Brian, Montse, Jimmy, we can talk about 30 days about this topic, not just the 30 minutes, but in respect of time,
Yes.
we have to end it here.
Great word,
And-
time.
Can I just say one last thing?
All right.
Only just because after lunch, we're also on another panel. And I think this leads right in. We're going to pick up on this.
We'll pick up on this one.
So-
You'll
right?
have more time.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have more time. Yeah. We have more power.
And I think it's time for lunch. I guess so. So thank you indeed,
Thank
all
you.
my panelists. It
Thank
was
you.
a
Thank you all for
Thank you very
giving
much.
us your attention.
pleasure having a discussion.